Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and this week's review where I'm looking at the Tour Edge Exotics C722 iron. Now this thing is absolutely beautiful, just like the spring day over here in the UK. I'm filming this in April. This video is coming out in May, but it's April in the UK. It's boiling. It's summer temperatures. The golf course is already rock solid. I'm actually hoping for a bit of rain so we get a bit of growth to get the greens in good shape for this summer, because at the moment they are not looking great. So fingers crossed for some rain over here, but the weather is beautiful and this iron is beautiful as well. So the reason I'm reviewing this iron today for you guys, so the C722, basically that's Tour Edge's sort of player's distance irons, hollow construction, very much like your P790s, but as a fraction of the cost, especially as this is a couple of years old now. So this was released in 2022, but there are other, versions out there. I know they've released a new one recently. You obviously have the C721s. They have been building this iron for quite a while, and a lot of you guys might not know about it. I'm a huge fan of Tour Edge. I think they produce some really good golf clubs, especially their drivers and their woods this year. A lot of people have really been enjoying them. But their irons are good as well, and they're cheap. I've actually been using these over winter when the weather was a lot colder here over the UK. I needed a little bit more distance. I needed a little bit more forgiveness than my Strixon ZX5s Mark IIs. And these things really stepped up to the plate. So much so, I'm actually keeping them, and I'll definitely be playing them again in the winter next year when my swing just goes horribly wrong as I get cold and I get stiff. So beautiful irons, and that's why I'm reviewing them for you guys today, because if you're looking for P790s, you don't want to spend an absolute fortune on them, especially the older versions, well, even the newer version, any versions really. In the 2017 versions are still very expensive what they are. This potentially is a great option for you guys to go out, get a hollow construction iron that's player's distance, give you all the distance you need, all the forgiveness you need, and the feel as well. This is a great option, and that's why I'm reviewing it. So, as always, what we're going to do is we're going to have a closer look at this club. We're going to come back in here, go through all the technology that's in it. Then we're going to get down to the range. We're going to throw some figures at you with the 9, the 7, and the 5 iron. And then we're going to come back in here for the ACS Golf Scale and my overall thoughts about potentially one of my favourite clubs that I've reviewed this year so far. All right, guys, let's have a closer look at this club. So there you go. And I think this is a really smart looking iron, to be fair. I really do. It's not that big and chunky. All right, the sole's not the smallest thing, definitely when you think it's a player's distance iron, but the top is thin, so you can't see that much behind the ball. It is a good looking hollow construction iron in my mind. Don't get me wrong, maybe not as nice as your sort of Mizunos, your 245s, maybe even the P790s, maybe not as good looking as that, but it is a smart looking club for a fraction of the price of all the other competitors. So you can't complain about that. Now let's get into the technology that's in these clubs. So dual vibrocore technology. So it produces faster ball speed and dampened sound and shock at impact for remarkable feel. So it goes vibrocore sort of technology inside it, as it mentions there, these 2 points here. You've got the diamond face VFT, so diamond face, so mini trampolines create amazing forgiveness and power across the entire face. Very much like in everything nowadays, you always have multiple thickness across the face. So the idea, if you do miss it off-centered, you're still going to get the same ball speed, and therefore you're going to get more forgiveness and still get that same sort of distant numbers. Obviously, if you completely miss the face, you will be punished, as with any clubs. Moving on. Military-grade margin steel L-cup face with superior rebound and power on every shot, including off-centered strike. So they have this sort of L-cup that goes down there and just goes over the lip of the bottom of the club to help with those off-centered strikes, especially off the bottom, which is good. So you've got hollow body design, as you can see there. So that allows for extreme perimeter weighting for exceptional forgiveness and power. So, they're able to move that weight around inside here, able to position exactly where it needs to be by having that hollow construction, you know, to really help you get the most out of these clubs. And a lot of clubs are going down this hollow route. Obviously, ever since the P790 created it, you know, with speed foam inside, you know, they've all been doing it. You know, Mizuno's have been doing it. Obviously Tour Edge, Pings, etc. A lot of them are now doing this hollow construction because they can move the weight around to where it needs to be to create great performing golf clubs. And then we've got player preferred shape, so thinner top line and profile. As I mentioned a second ago, you know, with the looks, it just does look smart. You know, it's not, you know, not huge profile on the bottom, but thick enough to give you confidence, and definitely that smaller top edge there. Really like it. So a thinner top line and profile to inspire maximum confidence at address. You know, so it is great. And if you go into lots of these, they're not hugely jacked either. I mean, they're obviously quite jacked. This is a player's distance iron, but not game improvement style or anything like that. So 3 iron is 19 degrees, 4 iron is 21 degrees, 5 iron is 23 degrees, 6 iron is 26.5 degrees, 7 is 30 degrees. Srixon and I play at the moment, the ZX5s are actually 31 degrees, so not far off that. 8 is 34 degrees, 9 is 39 degrees, pitch wedge is 44 degrees, gap wedge is 49 degrees. So a little bit jacked, but compared to all sort of more modern day player distance irons, you know, they're all getting a little bit more jacked because they're having to do it, because they're having to move that weight around. And if they don't increase the loft, all that's going to happen is that ball's going to go up in the air and it's not going to go anywhere. However, the problem with that is, yes, you help to sort of sort out the launch issue, but you can lose spin and therefore control. So keeping those lofts relatively, even though jacked, not hugely jacked, it does mean this has a little bit of spin, a little bit of control still, so you can, you know, work the ball. And I've been using this and I've been able to do that. I've been able to work the ball nicely, and a lot with the lower irons, I've been able to hit the greens and get it to stay on the green. So that's really, really good there. So there you go, guys. There's all the technology that is in the Tour Edge Exotics C722 irons. Also, big shout out, I've got Ventus stiff shafts on these. 8S. I love Ventus. So Ventus Blue, beautiful, beautiful shafts. If you never tried graphite shafts in your irons, do actually, because considering putting these in my Srixon ZX5s, to be honest, worked really, really well. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get down to the range now. Throw some figures of you for the 9, the 7, and the 5 iron, and then we'll get back here and go for the ACS Golf Scale. All right, see you in a bit. I'm down at the range with the 9 iron, the 7 iron, and the 5 iron. Now, I did have a little bit of wind in my face at the beginning of this testing, which tended to well, move away or change direction as I got into it. So the 9 iron and the 7 iron were a little bit shorter, and probably the 5, to be fair, as well. But generally, you know, I know the distance of these clubs because I have used them before. But let's get into the numbers on the day, and I'll say what I've been experiencing as well when I've had them out on the golf course and at the range in other moments as well. So with the 9 iron on the day, I had a carry of 119 yards, total distance 120 yards, ball speed 103 miles per hour, launch angle 26 and height 90. Normally with this 9 iron, I would normally on a normal non-windy day be getting around that 130 to 135 mark, which is exactly where I want my 9 iron, to be fair, pushing it to 140 if needed. 7 iron I had on the day a carry of 155 yards, total distance 157 yards, ball speed 116 miles per hour, launch angle 20 and height 91 feet. With the longest being 161 yards. Again, on the golf course, I can push this a little bit further, but not maybe too much further than that, maybe around 165 yards with the 7 iron. With the 5 iron now, I had a carry of 176 yards, total distance 186 yards, ball speed 125 miles per hour, launch angle 15 and height 70 feet, with the longest actually when I really went for it, and the wind did die down, 188 yards and a total distance of 200 yards. And that's where I'd expect my 5 iron to be. You know, I want it to be around that 180 plus mark, but if I can push it, I can get it over 190, which is exactly what I could with these clubs. So really happy with the numbers that I've experienced with these clubs since using them, even though in the day, you know, with that wind, I didn't quite get the numbers on at the range. But overall, they feel great out in the middle. You know, they really do perform brilliant. So here's the table for you there. So 9 iron 120, 7 iron 157, and 5 the 186. As I mentioned, a little bit shorter because of that wind for the 9 iron, definitely. But overall, you know, these irons produce, well, they're perfect, really. You know, they are players' distance irons. There's definitely plenty of forgiveness in them for what they are. You know, I can push the distance when I need to. I can control them. I'm getting stopping power. And the great thing about them as well, you know, they are a fraction of the cost compared to, say, your P790s. I mean, all other reviews out there of these clubs were brilliant. You know, you need to try them. So there are the numbers for the irons. Don't know what the hell happened with the 9 iron on that day. 5 iron, exactly where I'd expect it. The 6 iron, maybe a little bit shorter than normal, but the 9 iron was just nowhere near where it normally is. I think it's just down to me just not swinging as fast as I should be swinging on that day. You can tell even in the video, it looked a bit laboured, to be honest, because I have had these irons in the bag for a while, and I know I can get the 9 iron up to around that 135 carry, sort of maybe 140 if I need to, which is exactly where I need it. And that 7 iron does definitely go in that 160 carry all the time. And the 5 iron numbers were pretty much exactly what I expect from the 5 iron. So it just took me a while to warm up on that day, but never mind. You know, I do know these numbers off my heart because I have been using them a while, which is an important thing. Always make sure you know the numbers in your bag. So make sure you know your 7 iron goes like 160. Make sure you know your 6 iron goes blah, blah, blah. You know, it's really important. It helps you to score well. Because if you go, oh, I think my 7 iron, I might be able to get it to that distance, you know, odds on something potentially could go wrong. So there you go. So yeah, so 9 iron, 119 yards carry, 120 yards total distance, ball speed 103 miles per hour, which isn't that bad at all. Height 26, launch angle 26, height 90. As I said, on another day, that would definitely be up around that sort of 130 mark, 135. I mean, I did have a little bit of wind in the face, which definitely probably did affect the results, which did actually tend to die down when I was there. Actually, I got there when it sort of peaked, and it did sort of peter off pretty quickly after about half an hour. So maybe I could have got in the way of it because, like I said, you know, these irons for the 9 iron anyway definitely goes that 135 distance that I needed to. So never mind there. 7 iron pretty much there, you know, 159 total carry, you know, 161 total distance, you know, on average 155. So that was the longest there, by the way, on average 155 carry and 157 total distance. Ball speed 116 again, you know, launch angle 20, height 91. Again, definitely feel like on the golf course, I normally swing a little bit quicker. When I'm really warmed up, they definitely get the distance I need over that 160 mark. So again, not the end of the world, but you know, I know, you know, these irons definitely do go further, believe me. And then 5 iron, exactly what I expect. You know, 176 total distance, carry, 186 total distance, ball speed 125 miles per hour, launch angle 15, height 70. Longest on the day, got a carry of 188, total distance was 200. The ball speed 126 miles per hour with that one. So got one really out in the middle, really got the launch angle right with that one. And that one did fly, which really does show these things do go long. So getting into the ACS golf scale. So remember, we've got distance, feel, looks, price, and forgiveness. Now, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. So distance for me, as I mentioned, all right, on the day, the 7 iron and the 5, well, definitely the 9 iron was a little bit shorter than expected. The 7 iron was slightly shorter than expected, and the 5 iron was definitely on point, you know, from other times I've been using these clubs. I'm definitely giving it 4 out of 5. It is definitely a 4 out of 5, this club. It's definitely got exactly the same distance, if more, what you'd expect from a player's distance iron, and it's consistent as well. You know, I've used these over summer, I've used these over winter, you know, coming into spring. I've never had a situation where I thought like, oh no, suddenly it's just hit a sweet spot on it and gone an extra sort of 5-10 yards. It's been really consistent with the numbers. If I haven't got there for some reason, I know it's me and not the club. You know, I've missed the face or I've hit a really bad shot. You know, if I've hit the middle of the face, it's so consistent. So I'm really happy with that. So distance, I've given it 4 out of 5. I could have pushed up in the 4.5 out of 5, but then you're talking sort of game improvement sort of category area, and this definitely doesn't have the same sort of distance to the game improvement. You know, I am definitely swinging a lot quicker than I was last year, so game improvement really now for 7 iron is getting close to that 170 mark. Which I'm not quite getting with these. I could push it, but my normal sort of swing at the moment, I'm not quite getting there. So yeah, 4 out of 5, definitely really good distance, definitely up there with one of the longest for players distance category that I've tested. So perfect there. Now on to feel. 4 out of 5. It feels really nice out in the middle of the face. If I miss it, I know where my misses are, which is always important, I think, when you're playing sort of better players, you know, clubs, players distance category, you can sort of say is that game improvement, but you know, better players, smaller clubs, you know, where you want control, you want to know where your hit and miss hits are, and you definitely get that feedback from here. Don't get me wrong, it's not a forged face, it's not a forged club, so yes, it doesn't feel as nice as my Strixons or Mizunos out there, but out in the middle of the face, it does feel relatively really quite nice when you hit it, and I really quite enjoyed that feel, that pop off the face, that sort of that hollow construction gave as well. So yeah, 4 out of 5. Now on to looks. As I mentioned, I really did like the looks of it, but I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. I'm not going to give it necessarily higher than that because number one, I've seen these get a little bit battered which isn't great. And that's just basically the main issue with it. You know, it does look smart, but I'm never a fan of anything like this, or just sort of put in there. You know, I prefer it to sort of be one piece and look a little bit smarter, like your Mizunos and your more recent P790s. You know, once you've got these sort of bits that look that you can just sort of peel them off. Not the greatest thing, but yeah, 4 out of 5. Generally, the shape of it is lovely. It definitely gives you that player's look. So happy for that. Well, player's hollow construction look anyway. Definitely doesn't look like a blade. I'll give you that. Moving on to forgiveness. Forgiveness, I've given this a 3.5 out of 5. It's definitely up there for one of the more forgiving models for a player's distance iron, but this isn't game improvement. Do not get me wrong. So that's why it's 3.5 out of 5. It's up there. A better ball striker will definitely get enough forgiveness in this. But, you know, if I do quite a bad miss, you know, I do see some numbers drop off it. And I have done on a golf course as well. When I've hit it and gone, I've not hit that well, it's not going to get there. And it hasn't got there. It's only been quite short, so it hasn't been miles off, but it hasn't quite got there. So 3.5 out of 5. For this type of club, players distance club, you'll definitely be happy with the forgiveness. And that's the thing that people don't realize about the P790s. They're player distance clubs, they're not game improvement. So even though they have really good forgiveness for what they are, they're not your sort of your big chunky game improvement iron. So just be aware of that if you're looking down that P790 route. But this definitely has enough forgiveness for what you'll need from it. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Not bad at all. And again, in this category of players distance, definitely one of the better ones that I've tried with forgiveness. It's really up there. And as I mentioned, you know, the Srixon ZX5 Mark II, which I'm currently playing, I have both given them the same category distance for, you know, forgiveness 3.5 as well. But I would definitely say this has a little bit more distance than the Srixon. That's why it's gone in the bag. And well over winter, and I definitely say it's got a little bit more forgiveness as well. So really, you could probably say this is a 4.25 for distance, you know, the 3.75 for forgiveness, but I don't want to get into that. You suddenly be going like, oh, 3.777, whatever. So this is definitely at the top of that category that it's in. You know, it's above the Srixon. Definitely, in my mind, it gives me a little bit more distance and a little bit more forgiveness as well. Now on to price. So price-wise, you don't see many of these around, and that is one issue. You do see Tour Edge now over here in American Golf. It's definitely becoming more popular in the UK, and obviously in America it's a very popular brand. But because you don't see that many, it's quite difficult. But I've seen one being sold for £330, which is about $412. And I actually bought these, wait for it, with a Ventus shaft, normal length and line, Ventus stiff, from 5 to sand wedge, for £240, which is just under $300. That is an absolute steal for an iron this good. It really, really is. And check out the other reviews for it. You know, a lot of people say this is a really, really good iron. So for that, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, to be fair. If you can find these irons for that price, so $230, you know, say under $300, in good condition like these are, all right, there's a few maybe rust spots maybe between the grooves there, but generally in really good condition with Ventus graphite shafts are more expensive. That's an absolute bargain. You will not be disappointed. And I'm not going to lie, at the moment I have the Srixons in the bag, I'm playing really well with them, but if any reason they go cold, these will be coming straight back in the bag. I've really enjoyed them, and I really do think they are really, really, really good players distance irons. Definitely at the top of the category for all of them. All right, guys, now I hope you enjoyed my review of the Tour Edge Exotics C722 irons. Fantastic irons, definitely worth a look if you want that hollow construction and you want to save yourself some money. Even look at their newer models or maybe their older ones as well. And they are fantastic and definitely worth the go. So there you go. And to be honest, they'll definitely be back in my bag at some point this year, depending on how my Srixons go, maybe sooner rather than later. But yeah, lovely irons and absolutely love them. All right, guys, do comment down below, you know, do you play Tour Edge irons? If you do, what irons are they? I'd love to know. Remember to give this video a like if you enjoy it. And also remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you do not miss out on weekly ACS golf reviews and a lot more content coming up as well. All right, guys, I'll see you soon for the next ACS golf video. See you then. Bye-bye.